All right. So, welcome to our Friday edition of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. This is our open Q&A session where our goal is to be a live forum for transitioning military veterans, military spouses, and allies, which basically means everybody is welcome here to join us on our Friday open Q&A. We discuss a variety of Salesforce technology related topics. This could be anything from trailhead modules that you're stuck on. It could be an issue or a challenge that you're facing at work. Again, pretty much anything Salesforce technology related. The only thing that I ask that we don't cover during this call are Salesforce super badges because that's a violation of the Salesforce policy. Uh, After the call, if you want to stay connected to the group, and now I'm noticing that I probably didn't update that link for Slack, but I'll get to that and I'll put it into the chat here as well. But if you do want to stay connected, definitely sign up on mtofficehours.com so you can be notified of all the various sessions that we have. Follow us on LinkedIn on our page as well as our group. And again, I will send the Slack link there to join our private Slack workspace as well. So with that, let me stop my share and we can jump right in. So all I ask is that if you do have a question, just use the raise hand icon and we'll kind of address things in the order that they come up. So does anybody have any questions or topics that they would like to go through for today? And I see Elijah, you have a hand up. What do you got?
How's it going, everybody? How's it going, Bill? I think I attended like just one of these. Just been busy with work and stuff. Recently got laid off. Um, so I am a full stack developer. Just a little bit of background to get some context to my question. So I'm a
Yeah.
full stack developer. I did that for about a year through a VA program, going through a boot camp, then got connected with a startup. Then after that, the job that I got was for a cybersecurity company, being a systems application developer connecting Salesforce and NetSuite using the iPaaS called Celigo. So doing systems integrations and NetSuite development. But definitely want to capitalize on Salesforce certifications and things of that nature, just to systems integration, systems architect. That's kind of the path that I'm going down. Eventually getting to be able to be both the NetSuite and Salesforce developer. I know it's a robust goal. So right now I'm on my journey to get my Salesforce admin certification. I've been working
Okay.
on it for a while. I worked at that job for a little less than a year using Salesforce and learned a lot. And I'm doing the focus on force. I have a tendency of being like very, very diligent about things. And I just feel like it's taking me forever to take this admin exam. I'm just going through like every single like practice test or every single section. Is that the most optimal way of going about these type of things? Or like, is there a more efficient way of knowing when you're ready to take the test? Like I said, I've probably been at it on and off for probably like 6 months. I know that doesn't give like the best timeline, but like I'm working on it, but I kind of feel like I'm just kind of maybe like not going about the most effective way. So any kind
Yeah.
of guidance towards that.
So I'll give you my take and then we'll open up to feedback from everybody else. My my take is that between like all the platform app builder, the developer certifications, all that in comparison, I thought the admin exam was one of the more difficult exams, just because I feel like it's a very wide exam. It covers a lot of topics, a lot of things that are, very specific. Like you have to know them in Salesforce. Like, what does this menu item say? And a couple of them might look very similar. So I thought it was a difficult exam, covers a lot of topics. And from speaking to a lot of folks that are going through trying to get their admin exam, what I think is a good approach is that you do hit it from a couple different angles, right? So, going through the trailhead modules, they present the information in one type of way. Then you go to focus on force, and they might present the same information but a slightly different way, and you might catch something else. So you have all these different resources. They're all kind of try to prepare you for the same exam, and they might cover the information in a slightly different way to try to give you that full picture. So I think what you're doing is not bad. The only thing that I would say, um, sometimes I personally might have a habit of over preparing and I might over stress myself out and everything else. So there's nothing wrong with scheduling that exam and giving it a go and seeing how you do. And the well, the best case scenario is you walk away and you pass it and you're like, all right, let me move on to better things now. Worst case scenario, you get experience about how the exams are structured and you get that under your belt. And then you also get an idea of where you might need to focus in your studying efforts, right? So that would be my take on it. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I was gonna say something that I realized while I was studying. Um, you have to really know your terms because they try to be tricky. Like there's sharing rules and object permissions, and they'll switch the terms um so that only one answer ends up being correct because they're looking for a shared rule. And to me, it was like, you know, a permission's a permission. Um, and until I got very detailed on reading the question and noticed that they were switching the terms to be tricky, then I ended up like, I think that's what kicked me over from like not passing to passing is looking out for those kinds of um trick questions.
We definitely appreciate that.
You said that you do have focus on force.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm going through each and every one of them. And just from the Bill and Andreas, how you say your name? I don't want to be saying your name wrong. Uh,
Andrea, yeah.
Andrea, just from those two advice, yeah, I'm definitely just getting the fact that like this one just sucks. It's super robust and long, and like she was saying, it's just like, I'm looking at every single one of the words and trying to understand it. I'm just ready to get to the technical stuff that I'm used to and that I like diving into, and that is more like subject focused. And as much experience as I do have and understanding objects and how they're related in databases and stuff like that, I think Bill's correct where it's just like, yeah, you have to know where this thing is on the menu. You got to know if this is even an option on here, and they're gonna have two options, and one of them are the only ones on there. I think it's just I'm being impatient. The best thing I can do is kind of just schedule it, like Bill said, at the end of next month, and just be like that will help me because I'm starting to get like a version of burnout and just like tired of doing it, and I'm just like doing other things or avoiding my computer, and I know that that's never good, and especially as a developer, like you got to keep your hands on the keyboard, just like you have to keep on studying this stuff, and to me, it's just like I guess I was just getting like that mental fatigue, and it's just like, man, I don't want so much time to go away that I'm forgetting the earlier information. And so, yeah, I'm definitely these two gave really, really great perspective, and I'm definitely happy to hear more of what you got to say, Sandy.
So, did you get the practice exams or just the study guide?
Both, yeah, I
Okay.
got both.
So the nice thing with Focus on Force and their practice exams is that at least they're written in the same style. So it helps you with kind of like being able to get the way that they do the scenarios and dissect it a little bit better. So it can kind of give you that practice, which will help a lot as well. Um, and then the other thing is, and this for me, because I actually used to be an instructor. So
Oh,
my actual for other things, military and whatever.
okay,
But my advice in as an exam taker in general, not just Salesforce, but make sure that you take your time, actually read the question, so don't skim it, read it because there are very specific things that they will put in those exam questions. And the hardest thing for me is to not make assumptions. If it's not in the question, don't make an assumption. You don't need to consider it if it's not in the question. Like if they give you this scenario and then you start looking at, well, in this situation, I might do this. It's like, don't worry about that aspect. Literally just read it, literally read it.
for
And
sure,
then it's the same thing with the answers. It's like when you read your choice, I actually recommend reading all of them, unless you are like so 100% sure that the one you read there's no way it can be anything else. Read the other ones because there are times where they will have that little word difference between two answers, and it's like that makes a difference.
for sure, for sure.
And
Most
again,
definitely.
this is true in any good exam, whether it's Salesforce or anything else. It's like that's kind of part of writing an exam because I've also done that before. Writing an exam is hard. It's actually harder than taking it.
For
Um,
sure. So you
but
have the experience with focused on course. So would you recommend that I'm going through every single one of the practice exams and then do the actual comprehensive practice exam? That is the right way of going about it.
usually, a lot of people will recommend, doing at least a couple. And once you start like scoring 80% or higher on those exams, then you're probably going to be closer to more likely to pass because I actually think focus on force is a little bit harder.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I think for me, the ones that really tripped me out, shout out to just being a developer and maybe a slight autism, you know, like I'm a very meticulous person, but what gets me is just those ones that where like you just have to know it. And it's like, Jesus,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know this one thing in this one category. But yeah, definitely even just the being able to vocalize this to you guys is actually helping with the mental fatigue. Because like I said, just it just seems like it's just ongoing. I'm just ready to get over it. But I'm definitely gonna
You're,
schedule it for the end of the month.
you're
And
also you're signed up on the military Salesforce as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. I just not really on there that much. There's a time difference that I miss and stuff, but I
No,
do really enjoy
that's
being
not
here.
why. The main reason I'm
Well,
asking is
yeah.
because you get that
Mm.
free voucher to take it, and they will also give you a free retake.
Oh,
So
okay.
that way, if you get the voucher to take the exam, it's a little less intimidating because you're not spending $200 when you're not 100. It's like when you're so nervous about taking it. So that way, you're like you don't have to worry about spending that money, and then you get one free retake voucher. So that way, again, it's like some people actually do kind of use that approach of. In fact, my boss actually recommends that approach. Just take the exam, use that as a practice exam. If you pass, cool, then you only have to take them once. If not, at least now you kind of have a better idea what it's like.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I've already went through the actual trailhead and I have the voucher, but like I just been like focus on force. So I really, really like that. And like you said, I know they give you a free retake. So yeah, like you said, I think I'm in the position for sure by the end of next month where I feel confident, even if I didn't finish these last like three modules, which there's no reason why I wouldn't. And just taking it in like, all right, well now, like you said, I actually see it and I don't have to make it some imaginary thing and blow it out of proportion. So I really, really like that advice. That's super solid. I appreciate it.
watch out for the questions that are like, which of these is not correct? And pick the two or more correct answers. Like they do it all different kinds of ways. And if you don't read the questions very, very carefully, then you'll just pick the first right answer and move on. And they actually want the one that's wrong. So yeah, just I did my practice test all very fast and then went really, really slow on the actual test.
For sure.
Do you
Elijah, a
get the
couple things.
voucher? Oh, sorry. I was wondering how you get a voucher, or do you have to be a veteran?
You have, well, so it's if you're a veteran or if you're a spouse. You can sign up for the Salesforce military and
Gotcha.
and then when you go through that process and you select like what your career path is, I can't remember the exact wording, but basically it's on the homepage and you kind of pick admin and then it tells you which trails and badges you need to complete first in order to qualify for getting that exam voucher. And once you kind of finish those vouchers, of course, that's not going to be enough to actually pass. You need to keep doing more, but you have to do the minimum amount. And then there's the process. They've actually kind of made it better than it used to be. And it's once you do that, it'll kind of pop up and you can request a class, one of the sitting classes, which is actually really nice. Have you done that one yet? Because you can get that free like 5-day class to do an admin thing.
I'm not a veteran or a spouse, so unfortunately, probably not going to be able to qualify.
But Elijah might be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I am a veteran, but I'm not, yeah, I have no idea what that is at all. So what is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
this is yeah, these real gems right here.
So Elijah, I put the link in the chat there. So the place you want to get started, veterans.force.com, and that'll take you to the Trailhead Military page. And then from there, you can click the register to join, and it'll take you through the whole process. But essentially, as Sandy was mentioning, you sign up on that page. You can go in there, set a goal, which Sandy, you're right. They absolutely updated that and it looks great compared to what it used to be. But yeah, you set a goal. Let's say you want to be a Salesforce administrator, and it'll say, okay, based on that goal, here's the Trailhead modules that you should take. Once you
Hmm.
get through all of them and it checks them all and they're all green, it'll give you the option to attend that 1 week course for free, or get your voucher for free certification. So, and you could do that for every single goal. So I think they have like 20 different goals on there now. You could, in theory, attend 20 different classes and take 20 different certifications for free.
So
Okay, and
you can either skip the class and get your voucher right away, or you take the class and then get your voucher after the class.
Yeah.
okay,
You'll
so
still get your
I
voucher.
thought one or the other, and I've already picked to get my voucher. So could I go back, or is it I'll have to do it on the next exam?
Just put in a case create a case through there and ask one of the people if there's any way that you can get the voucher to take the class. And they might just, I think all they do is reset that like module thing so that you can then select a class.
Okay, wow, yeah, no, that's amazing, super helpful. And I think that's something I probably need, especially for this first one. Man, you guys are super helpful. Super glad I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, and Elijah, that kind of goes to what I mentioned earlier, where you hit it from the trailhead side, you do the focus on force, and then maybe the third side is the course that you attend for a week, and then from there, good shape to take the test.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I think the courses aren't too frequent though. So like if the timing doesn't work out, like I wouldn't use that as an excuse to not sit the exam.
Don't delay. That's right.
Yeah, you gotta rip off the band-aid at some point.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right, for sure.
Elijah, one other thing popped in my head. Well, two things. On the focus on force, you can see answers after every question. I really like that in that you get a visual of where things are, where the menus are on the screen. It gives you a lot of screenshots, and for me, that's really good for my mind. And the other thing I would do is go in an org and just play around. Like take a break from reading through the materials and like open up stuff, look, see where all the menus are, try to build things. I think it might be nice to get your hands dirty in terms of like remembering things. For me, I definitely, if I build it, I know it. If I don't, not necessarily. So
Yeah,
that might help
yeah.
too.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for that because Dan, because yeah, I think for some reason during this admin thing, I haven't really been the org outside the trailhead. And I don't know why, 'cause just being a developer, you're always doing those type of things. But I've been so focused on just like doing these exams and like make sure I understand the answer, finding stuff, and they'll tell me to like, oh, make sure you look into your playground. But it's just like, I just want to finish all these practice exams. So I think, I could take more of a developer's approach to this. And maybe that's also why I'm getting burned out because I'm like, dude. It's just
So
me.
that's another option. You don't have to take the admin exam. It's not a prerequisite for the platform developer.
Yeah, I know that. Like I said, I plan on getting my system design architect. And for me, just being a developer and being an integrator, like it's important to me to at least get one CRM and one ERP admin certification, just so I know the platform. Like I said, I come from a full stack web developer background, and that just gives me a good sense of what's going on. But I know what makes a good developer, in my humble opinion, is not over engineering and knowing what to configure as opposed to develop. And for me, like I did try just to develop on my own. Like, well, I'm a developer, I can pick up this Salesforce stuff, and it was a little bit of a mess for me. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the most efficient teammate,
Okay.
just for myself. But I definitely appreciate that, Jeff.
Yeah, I think one final thing. Iris, good. I saw you just came off mute. What do you got?
I was just going to add something as well that when you're taking the practice exams, don't take them too many times because the human mind is an incredible machine and it'll just start, believe it or not, even if you've done like 6 exams, it'll start remembering the answers and you won't be working them out. And then you'll be scoring 90, but then you'll go to explain it to somebody and realize that you don't know it. So just be mindful of how many times you take those practice exams.
Definitely will. Thank you.
All right. Well, last thing I'll mention about this, Elijah, I think you kind of alluded to this, where there's just a lot of information, you're studying it, and you're worried about kind of forgetting the stuff that you did earlier, right? I think that's something that is just natural in the Salesforce platform now. I say this all the time, but there was a time, maybe a decade ago, where you could know Salesforce, you could know the entire platform in and out. That is not the case anymore. I mean, there's so many weird clouds, and they've added so much functionality. It's huge. So it's hard to know and remember everything. So it's almost like you have that where your focus is, you know that kind of stuff really well. You have a general idea about the other stuff, and then just like we do in anything, it's how you find the information when you need it is usually the most important thing. But unfortunately, that doesn't help you on the exam. So you gotta know all the stuff on the exam, and then you can kind of, I don't want to say put it behind you, but then you can kind of set it aside and then focus on the next thing.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is my big mountain. Like I said, I know after this, just with my technical skills and stuff like that, I'm gonna blaze through everything else. And yeah, even with this, it's helping me just in general understand systems and system design. So yeah, I definitely appreciate all the advice, and it's a beast, man. For any of you guys who have the admin certification, I definitely salute you guys.
All right. Any last thoughts or questions on this one before we move on? All right, I'm going to put a reminder in my calendar for the end of next month to ask you how the test went. So don't forget here.
I appreciate you. Yeah, no, I'm signing up right now. Thank you.
And just to be clear, end of next month is September, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep, September,
Okay.
end of September for
All right.
sure. Yeah, no, I'm definitely ready. Like I said, I just need to know how to think about things. My developer brain, I'm telling you, it gets me, just dark room coding, very, very literal, very methodical. So just getting a grasp around this and like, no, dude, it's okay to know 80%. That's a very hard thing. I don't know why as a developer for me to understand. Just my own personality type. It's just like,
I just wanted to make sure you weren't rounding up a month. That's all. So end of September, that's what we're shooting for. All right.
yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Well, let's see. Any other questions on this before we move on? Let's go. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions or topics that anyone would like to go through for today? Julia, yeah. What do you got?
A quick question. I'm building a round robin on a custom object. Probably going to use flows, probably going to use cubes. I'm just wondering, is there resources out there? I found some YouTube and whatnot. I found some that want to use more objects, but we have limited number of objects to use as well. So sort of where I'm at, just researching at this point in time. But if anyone has any recommendations, to resources I can read, watch, and just building out the diagram right now, process diagram, and seeing how I'm going to achieve this.
Well, let me say this back to you, and then we'll open it up for comments here. So essentially, you have a custom object that you're creating, and whenever one gets created, you want to assign ownership in a round robin style format. Like you have a team of 5 people, record gets created, you want to assign it to the first person, the next one gets created, goes to the second person, and so on, so that everybody essentially gets an even number of assignments. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to be able to like maybe check a checkbox if I want to skip the flow, don't enter the round robin, or if like they're out of office, it'll skip that person. So something like that.
So I have an idea of how you could accomplish that. But before I give you my thoughts, has anybody gone through this, created something from scratch on this type of thing? Or is there native Salesforce functionality that kind of lends itself to this automatically?
I've done it with an org, just a checkbox, a date assigned, and you have the round robin assignees and the date that they're assigned. Then when you go to look for the next round robin assignee, you just find the most recent date, and whoever's you keep building on a list of round robin assignees. So I'm not explaining this very well, but I've done it.
Well, no, that makes sense. So let me say that back then. So essentially, if I hear you correctly, imagine on the user object, we had a field called like last time I was assigned one of these custom objects. It's a date field, right? Or date time if we want to get really granular, right? So you have a date time field. Every user's got one of those. So one of your records gets created. You have a record triggered flow that'll say, get me all the users order by that date field, descending or ascending. I had to see it before I know which one it is, but some kind of sort there. So it gets the smallest number. In other words, the person that got it the longest time ago, and then it assigns that user and updates their date to the current date time. So then the next time a record gets created, it does that same thing, queries the users with the smallest value, assigns that person, updates their date. So essentially, it's like a process of finding the user with the smallest date, assigning them to the record, and then updating the date to the current date time.
Yes, except that they created a separate object called round robin assignee. You wouldn't necessarily need to do that, but it's just adding users to this separate object.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned that is something that is a concern because let's just say it's a platform license and they have a limitation on the number of objects they can access. Creating a custom object could be cool to keep track of the round robin, but if we could do it just based on a field on the user, that's one less object that we have to worry about.
You got it. Exactly. We're limited. We're platform licensed.
Yeah. So that could be a way, as they say, right?
Now, just remember to check if is active, so you're not assigning.
Yes.
Well, you can assign an inactive user, but Anyway, it's FYI.
Yeah, and then that's a good point. That's something to keep in mind for the finding the user part of it. And then the other thing you mentioned too is that creating a checkbox on the record itself called bypass the automatic assignment logic, so that in your record triggered flow, that's the first thing you're checking. Does it, only do it for records where that is false. But if you did need to bypass it, you could.
Yeah.
Or have it so it's true and they are a member of the list when it's true, and then if they're unchecked, then they're not even looked at when you're going to look for users. So you're only trying to find users that are round robin assignees, whatever you want to call it. Like maybe is round robin assignee, check the box. And then when it sorts by date, you only need to get one, get the oldest one. Like just get the first record you get to.
Yeah, it's another good suggestion. I was also going to say a lightning action called I'm feeling lucky, where you click it and just, if you don't like the person that got assigned, you can just click that and it'll assign a random person. That could be fun to put together too, depending on use case. All right, what do you think? Does that get you close to what you're looking for? Or?
Yeah, I have to think about that. But hopefully you're recording this right, so I can
Yeah,
review it. Yeah.
we're recording, and the second thing is that when I ask for, does anybody else have any questions? If we get a no at any point and we have enough time, I think we might try to build this one out just to see what it would look like.
That'd be cool.
So,
okay, thanks.
not to try to, not to tell anybody don't ask questions, but let's see if we have any other questions, and we'll go from there. So that being said, anybody else have any feedback on this particular use case before we move on? Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or topics that they would like to go through? If so, feel free to raise your hand and we'll go through it. Okay, and all right, so hearing no questions, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Hearing no questions though, I did see Elijah had a question in the chat about how do you create the case through the veterans.force.com site. Anybody, I don't really go in there that often. Anybody have it up right now that they can just explain that?
It's in the chatter section.
The chatter section? Okay. I should be able to find that. Okay, cool. I'll find it. Thank you.
No problem. Otherwise, I can pull it up and demonstrate.
Send me an email, Elijah. I have it all mapped out for you and everything. So I'll just send you the details. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, I do that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. All right. So let's just see if we can do an example of this use case here. So I'm going to share my screen, and bear with me because I mean, obviously there's been zero preparation for this. So we'll kind of do the best that we can here. So what I'm going to do, the first thing is let's create that custom object, and we'll keep it real simple here. So I'm going to create a custom object called, see, this is the hardest part, coming up with names for stuff. Project requests. Okay, project requests. Okay, and yep, you got a project request name, allow reports activities. Okay, all the good stuff. All right, great. All right, so now we have that object that we just created. So the next thing that we'll do is we're going to create a new field here, which is going to be a lookup field, and we're going to call this. This is going to be a lookup to the user object, and it's going to be called request, REQUEST, assign E, whatever, right? So this is a lookup to the user object, and I'll make it visible to everybody. Yeah, we'll add it to the layout. All right, good to go. And then as I usually do when I create custom objects on the fly, I forgot the tab thing. So I'll go over to tabs real quick, and we'll create a new custom object tab for our, what do I call that thing? Project request. Don't even look at it, just click on the first thing, or else I'll be there all day too. I'll make it default on, and we're going to add it to every single app just so we don't have to fight with it. Okay, so there we go. So now if we go to, yeah, I guess I could just do this. Now if we go to our org here, there's our project request object, and we don't have any records. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new one here. We show we have a single field, actually two fields here. We got the name, which is test one, and we have this request assignee, which I can look and I have just the default users from the playground work, right? So security user and the main one. All right, so from there, then we need to put a little bit of the fields that we're going to need, and then we'll go into and we'll build a flow, right? So first thing that we want to do is keep track of the round robin, like who's received the most recent one. So again, a lot of different ways we can do this, but we'll try to keep it with the minimum number of objects possible. So I'm going to go to the object manager, go to the user object, and I'm going to create a new field here called, let's see, this is going to be a date time field. And we're going to call this last project assignment, something like that. All right, so just a daytime field. Right. Yep, make it visible to everybody, add it to layout, save, good to go. Okay, so now the theory is, as we discussed, we're going to create a record, and when we create that record, we want to find the next user that's available, and we're going to assign them and then update their date. So the way that we're going to do that is through a record triggered flow. So if we go to our home tab here, we type in flow, we'll go here. And I should have mentioned this before, but if anybody has any questions, thoughts, different way we could do it, feel free to interject it at any time here. So from our flow screen, I'm going to go to record triggered flow. We want this to fire whenever a project assignee record is created. Search for project or project request, I think is what I called it, right? So we got a project request when a record is created. And right now we're going to come back to this. We're going to add that criteria about bypass the logic and all that stuff. But for now, let's just keep it where every record's going to go through this. So I'm going to just say, yeah, no conditions. We'll set it to none. Now, there's a before. So there's the fast field updates, which essentially means we're going to do this before the record is saved. And then we have the actions and related records, which we would do after. In this case, since we're only going to be updating a field on the record that we're creating, and actually I take that back because we're going to update the user. All right, let's go with the after for right now. All right, so we'll keep that. Now, just something I like to do whenever I create a flow, before I start building a lot of complexity and then my network shuts down or my kids play Roblox or something and they like shut down my router, always come in here and save first. So this is going to be project request automation. Definitely put in the description if you like to do that kind of thing. So we save it. All right, good to go. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do then is this project request record gets created. We need to find a user that's got that's the next in the line. All right, so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a get records. We're going to say get next user. So the object is going to be the user object, which should be around here somewhere. There we go. And we want to right now. Okay, we're going to have one criteria. This is, I think, I forget who mentioned this, but if at a minimum, we want to make sure that is active is equal to true. And of course, we can add additional logic and complexity to this. If we want to say like is part of round robin or whatever else that we want to put in there, we can do that too. But for now, I'm just going to say, just give me an active user. We only want to get the first one. And we also want to do, this is the key part here, the sorting. So I think we want to sort ascending. So we get the oldest date first. So we're going to sort ascending by whatever I called that field, which I have already completely forgotten.
I'm going to pause you 1 second. Can we use a queue if we put people in a queue?
Because
we'll have a defined queue, I believe.
So all the people are inside of a queue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so instead of saying having a checkbox saying like this person's a part of the automation, you just want to say everybody that's part of this is going to be in a queue.
Yes.
Yes, we could in theory do that. I'm going to do the simple example first, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the queue thing. Essentially, everything is going to be the same, except we're going to have a couple intermediate steps where we find the queue, then we get all the users that are in the queue, and then we grab the one that's the next in the line. But yeah, we'll keep it simple for now, and then we'll come back to it.
Cool.
Okay, so we're going to get all users where they're active. We're going to get only one record. We're going to sort this ascending by the last project assignment. So let's do that. So we got our user. Now we are going to do a update triggering record. And again, anybody stop me if I'm going astray here, but we're going to say set the person, whatever. And we're going to say the request assignee is going to be equal to the user from the get next user dot ID. Okay, now we're going to add a few other things like did we find a user and all that stuff. We'll add that logic, but again, for now, I'm going to keep it real simple. So we get the user, we set it on the record, which we did in that step there. And then the last step here, we're going to do assignment. So we're going to say, well, I guess maybe we don't need an assignment. Can we do update directly to that user record? Do an update record. Yeah. No. I'll go to the original, what I was going to do here. All right, so we're going to say update the project assignment for this user. There we go. And we're going to say the user from get dot last project assignment is going to be equal to, and then this is the only real tricky part. We got to get that date time. So we could just do it the flow current date time. So we'll grab that. And then the last step here would be to just update records. And I think I can just do, so update the user. What is it here? Not that one. Yeah, so we just want to do that. So we'll update for the record. All right, so in theory, this should work. Anybody have any questions or thoughts before I activate this thing and we give it a whirl? Or I use the debug and give it a whirl that way.
So initially, no one is assigned or populated with the date and field, so it's all blank. So it's just going to grab anyone from.
It'll grab just the first user. Yeah, that's active.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's give this a whirl. We could do this with debug, but I'm actually just going to activate this. We're going to test this in real life. So let's do this. So I'm going to create a new project request. I'm going to say test2. I'm going to leave that blank. And when I click save, it's going to throw a big error. So let's see. Can't save this because project request automation failed, insufficient access, or read only. Okay, so let's see if we can get around that. What would it be over here? So I guess it's saying that the running user doesn't have access. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so I don't actually have any records. All right, so I'm going to deactivate this. So back here, let's set this as test1, save. So we have a record. Let's go to our flow, debug. I'm going to select test1 and run. And let's see where it blows up. Okay, so the update the user part. Can I insert a user with this profile? I'm not trying to update a user. I'm not trying to insert one. I'm trying to update one. Okay. Well, let's try this then. Just to go at it a slightly different way.
What is the condition if nothing's found? How do you handle that?
If a user is not found?
Correct.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, then I will go about that.
They all get paid off or fired or.
Yeah, so basically what we, oh, go ahead, I heard somebody else.
I was just saying it probably just got a bad user and that's why.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it could have been like a one of those.
Yeah, make sure it's only getting active users and not like a so you'll want to have is active, and then you'll want to have, in addition to that, you might have to eliminate certain profiles.
So were the only two users you and the other who were the two users that were available from the beginning?
I wonder if it was Chatter Expert that it got.
Could have got Chatter Expert, could have got the integration user.
Well, I think those two should be okay, but I'm thinking this one that might be the.
Aren't you going to get mixed DML operation here anyway, Bill? Even if you do the right user.
Because I'm trying to update a record and a user at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get around that though.
I think
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we can get around that.
gonna fail anyway. But
Yeah,
Is
let's
what in system context?
it's a good question. Let me do this and then we'll jump to that. And then the mixed DML thing, I think we'll be able to address all those things. Well, let's just see here. Okay, what? I really don't like this thing where there's not like a save button.
Yeah, I don't like it either. So you wanted this to fail?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
No, we said alias equals chatter, right?
Equals chatter.
Yeah, this was the part where it's just testing to make sure you're paying attention. So good job, guys. All right. Pass the test. All right. All right. So let's debug this now with test one and see. Okay. So that went through. So I wonder if it was that chatter user that was just a little bit wonky that you can't mess around with it. Now, what's interesting is it went through and it didn't say anything about mixed DML, which I think is okay because updating a field on a user, I think is different than creating a user, creating a profile where you might get that mixed DML. I could be wrong, but I think in this case, it's treating them both as data. But let's.
I think so. User's a very funky object. That's why it's been taking so long for the updates, according to the folks at Salesforce. It has a mix of metadata and data in it, and I think that's why we get the mixed DML.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So flows. This is a tip for anybody that might be new, but things work better when you turn them on. So let's try this again here. Okay, there you go. So grab me. Now, in theory, if I go and I create a test 4, it should grab some other human besides me. Integration user. Okay, then let's do one more just for dramatic effect. Save. Oh, okay. So this is probably the other kind of special user that we just ran into. So what is it? Integration at work. So security user, I guess, is the other one. So I think going back to Julia, your point about having a queue where you specify the exact users that you want this to run with, that would solve this whole thing. But just for now, I'm going to just hard code one more person here, and we're just going to say alias is not equal to SEC, and I'm going to save.
Yeah, this is where I think creating the checkbox on who you do want, rather than us telling it everything you don't want, would also probably save you time in the long run.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to the actual question with the queues, and maybe that'll solve our problem here. So let's just say that we create a queue called people. Well, what do we want to call this? Project people. Let's go with that. Project _ people. Available objects is going to be our project request. So I'll throw that in there. And then users, I know that that one works. And I think, what was the other one that worked here?
Integration.
Integration. Okay. So we'll add the integration user. So those two, we know that work. So we'll save that. So now if we go into our flow, we just need to modify this a little bit to find the people that are in that queue first. So I'm going to add a step in here, get records. And this is going to be get queue quest, get queue people. Actually, let's do get queue first.
Yeah, get the queue. I would.
All right. So there we go. This is going to be QUE.
It's actually group.
Thank
Group
you.
object type is queue.
Oh, I love Salesforce and their naming convention.
All right. So I'm looking at group, and what are you seeing here?
So you're gonna want to put the group name or the queue name. That'll be name, and then the type of it is there should be a type, queue type or group type, and that's queue. We don't need it for this, but I advise it in general because I've been in lots of orgs with queues and groups with the same name.
There you go. Perfect. All right. And then we'll do developer name, which I think I set to people project_people. Okay, so that should find the queue itself, and then we want to find the people that are in the queue. Or actually, that would be I could do that in this step here, right? Or I could just get, but I'm not going to get the user object. I'm actually going to be getting a different object now, right?
No, you need to get the queue, then you need to get the group member, which will be the people who are in your queue that'll get the group members. And then you need to sort through them to get the IDs, which will be a lot easier when the new Winter 25 comes out. The transform element is better in Winter 25, but in theory, you'd have to loop through it here.
Okay, and I'm assuming I'm going to do where group ID is equal to the group from that ID. We're going to get all records. Okay. Yeah, I guess this.
Or
this
you could
part,
just get one. You could just get, well, no, you want to make sure you're getting the latest. You need to get them all. Never mind.
yeah, so we get all the members. So that should give me all the members of that queue. And then, yeah, I guess this step here, this is the part I have no idea if we can do this or not, but if we get rid of this nonsense here, I guess I can't say where ID, there's no in option here where I can just say in.
Yeah, you have to
members.
take your group members and you have to turn them into a collection of IDs, which
Isn't-
takes a
isn't
loop
it
right
already-
now.
If it's getting all of them, it is already a collection. So you just put in get queue members in there.
But it doesn't show up here.
No, it only does a collection of IDs. It won't do a collection of records.
That's so lame. Okay.
They said maybe one day.
Right. Okay. Everybody hold your breath on 3. Ready?
Wait, for queue members, was it all? Did you have
Yes.
get all or get one? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
get all. All right, so this is going to be of type text, right?
Yeah, variable of type text. We just needed to loop through and assign it. And you will be able to do this with the transform element next release.
Did I seriously do that? Okay. So variable, group member IDs, type text, and allow multiple. Okay, done. Okay, so now you're saying right here, we're going to add a loop.
Yes, sir.
So for each group member, collection is going to be a group member from this thingy. And then for each one of them, we're going to have an assignment element. And we're going to say add group member ID to collection. Okay, and then I'm going to set group member IDs, add, and then it's the current chumpy from the loop dot user ID, I guess.
Yeah, it's the user or group ID. Yeah. And now this presents other things. If you happen to have groups in your queue, you're going to want to only get in your initial get.
Yeah.
You're going to want to get one whose ID starts with 003 so that they're contacts and not 00G, which are going to be groups.
All right, say that again. It's 00 what? Per user?
3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, and then down here, so that's where I'd say where the ID is in group member.
Yeah,
IDs.
but up in your get queue members, it won't be the ID field. It'll be the.
Oh, so this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And just in case anybody was wondering, if we go to user object and you just click on a random user, you can see, usually you can see, why don't I see, you can't see the user ID up here.
Oh, users are
Yeah,
005. I'm sorry, contacts.
Yeah,
are
usually it's
003.
after that percentage 2F, Bill. So it's 005.
I gotcha, right there. Yep,
Yeah.
okay. For some reason I thought 005 was opportunities, but that's not right.
I know. That's 006.
Yeah.
I hate knowing
Okay.
all these.
All right, so here we go. So we get the queue, which is our people queue that we created. We get all the members of that queue. Then we loop through all of them, grabbing the user ID, adding that to a collection. Then we get all the users that are in that, well, we don't get all the users. We get users that are in that queue, but we do that same sorting that we had talked about where we group by the last project. So it should get whoever's got the smallest date time field from that set of people that we added to the collection. Then it goes through everything else as normal. So we set the record on the project request. We update the date on the user. Good to go. Now, what's the chance in the last 3 minutes of this call that this thing's going to work? Huh? Let's see. Let me just do a quick debug. We'll just grab like S4.
I have faith.
What? Find all group IDs. We'll try to look up group IDs. You go to this and user like 005 limit error. Invalid operator on ID field. You kidding me? Okay, well here's the thing. Okay, we are in control of this work. Okay, so don't add groups to your queue. Okay, just don't do that for this example. Just don't add them. We can figure it out later, but just in the interest of time, don't put groups in the queue. So let's do this.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Bill, for this one. Like you need to get all IDs, and then inside the loop you have a decision element. And if it's like then when you got that collection, if it starts with 003, you go down the assigned path. Otherwise, yeah.
Smart.
Do that, yeah.
Okay, so now this looks like it's going to go through, so I'm going to activate this. But before we do anything, we have to go to our queues, which I think we already added our people to this. Yep, so we did. All right, so now in theory, when I create a new record here, test 5, to grab somebody, so grab me. And then if I go in here and I create another one, test 6, it should grab the next user. And then if I create another one, test 7, you can see it goes back to me and so on. And then if you were to click into the user record and look at, what are we looking at here? Oh, right there. There you go. So you can see that every time it adds you, it's going to grab whatever the current date time is and throw it in there. All right. So now, just as a disclaimer in the last couple seconds that we have here, this is a very ugly flow that we put together. We put no error handling whatsoever. We didn't do any decision to see, did we find it? So we definitely would want to go through and kind of productionize this and put all those kind of controls in place. But Julia, if you're still on, which I can't see the list of people here, that should get you kind of close. Yeah, that should get you close to what you were asking about.
Very cool. Oh, and then the out of office, we could put it on the user, put a field on there, or is that out of office standard process work on this one?
That's where a checkbox could come in. I'm dying to put a checkbox in here, but I don't love them all the time. But in this case,
yeah,
I think you just have a out of office is not false or whatever. However you want to
You know
do
how
that.
you can go to the user record though and put yourself out of office? Does that standard usage work in this case? Can we access it?
So let me do this. I'm just gonna I might go over it by like 30 seconds here. If I was out of office, where would I put out of office on this user record? Or is it on like the profile side? Yeah, I'm not really sure how to do that.
I wonder if that's custom in your org. If not, this is cool, and I hope we can find it.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We might have to take this one as homework, and we can cover this one next week just because we are out of time here. So let me do this. I want to thank everybody for all the feedback and all the questions and everything else. If anybody has any questions after the call, Slack Workspace is the best place to do that. And once I have the recording ready, I'll post it up on LinkedIn as well as Slack. So hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks all.